Skyrim just got one of its most insane mods yet. And this isn't necessarily insane from a feature standpoint, like it's doing things no other mod has done before, but rather today we're going to be taking a look at a mod that took Creation Club and made it actually good. It is basically what all of us had hoped Creation Club would be when it was originally announced from Bethesda, and to me it's easily one of the coolest things modders have ever done with Skyrim. Skyrim Extended Cut is a larger DLC-sized mod coming to Skyrim as a main story add-on. It's basically a mod that's trying to rework some aspects of Skyrim's main story, actually be an expansion on the main story. Some parts will feel new and fresh, other parts will have a lot more content in them. Not trying to change the outcome overall of Skyrim's story, but really just add more there. And in effect, the mod team took that same logic and applied it to the Creation Club add-on Saints and Seducers, completely fleshing it out with a new world space, actual quests with voice acting, and even some pretty insane dungeon design and some new items. So Bethesda's version of Saints and Seducers came out all the way back in 2019. Saints and Seducers was a pretty notable aspect of Creation Club because it was one of the largest and most expensive things to ever get released from the program. It would bring to Skyrim 4 new sets of weapons and armor, as well as a couple of extra artifacts on top of that. All of these were naturally integrated, so you do some quests that would take you to some new enemies, which would introduce you to the new armor sets and weapons, and even a custom-made dungeon with a boss tier enemy to fight. And there was a fair amount of story being told here, but because it's Creation Club, this was never done with voice acting, and instead you were just doing a lot of reading of notes or books to find out what was happening. For a weapon pack, it was pretty cool, but the questing side was completely lackluster, especially for the price. And although it was $15 originally, now it's free. Because even if you never bought any of the Creation Club items, Bethesda gave this out to everyone for free along with Fishing last year when they released Anniversary Edition. So with that in mind, if you have an updated version of Skyrim, whether you're on PC or Xbox, you can download Saints and Seducers from Skyrim Extended Cut. What this is going to do is completely fix the story side of things. By installing this mod, it's going to create an interconnected questline with side quests, fully voiced characters, as well as a totally new landmass for you to explore, as now you'll be going to the Shivering Isles to properly experience this. And right off the bat, this is pretty cool because the new quest will integrate well into Skyrim's story. You're going to have to complete the Mind of Madness quest first, before you can complete the new Saints and Seducers quest. The Mind of Madness is the vanilla Skyrim quest involving Sheogorath, that's how you get the Wabbajack. And once you do this quest, there will be a disturbance in Solitude, and we're going to have to go and investigate. And shortly after, we'll be transported to the Asylum, a totally new section of the Shivering Isles. This is going to be a completely custom new world space, and it actually features a proper map for fast traveling. The world space overall is super pretty. There's going to be a variety of things to explore, several locations, a bunch of characters to talk to, including a main quest and side quest, but also just visually. There's going to be custom weather types implemented for this, and the overall atmosphere is incredibly memorable. There's more than one moment when I was playing this and I just took a moment to stop and really take everything in. But the reason we are in the Asylum is the Saints and Seducers need our help. We'll be introduced to a saint named Strata. She'll describe how the Asylum is a prison for those banished, but the prisoners here have banded together under a new leader named Thoron, and in turn they together have destabilized the Asylum, which of course it's now going to be our job to help them fix this. That's the overall story. I'm not going to spoil the entirety of this questline because I'm sure many of you will play it, and hopefully you do because it's awesome, but several aspects of those major story beats may sound familiar to you, and that's actually one of the pretty cool parts about this mod. The Skyrim Extended Cut version of Saints and Seducers will add in a ton of new content, but also reuse some of the old Creation Club content. Strata, for example, is actually one of the saints you would meet at the end of the original Saints and Seducers story. In that version, she had a super minor role and actually only featured repurposed dialogue, so you could technically talk to her, barely, but it wasn't any newly recorded voice lines. Now, in the Skyrim Extended Cut version, she is completely voiced with a ton of dialogue and really acts as a guide and secondary companion throughout the entirety of this story. Similarly, Thoron is the big villain yet again. In the original Creation Club version, he was the big boss fight at the end. And in this new version, he plays a similar role, but this time with so much more character. You're going to talk to him and interact with him on several different occasions. He's built up as this strong, evil force with a powerful backing. And he really feels like a genuine threat in this world, like something you are truly motivated to fight against. As opposed to in the original Creation Club version, there wasn't much of that. Some of the dungeons are reused. You can see some of the tile sets that's making a return. And one such dungeon they created for this mod for one of the side quests is one of the coolest I have ever experienced in Skyrim. At one point, you're tasked with finding something for this guy named Theodore Gorlash, which is definitely a totally new character and has never appeared in an Elder Scrolls game before. But while you're doing this side quest, you're going to have to navigate through this dungeon that will reshape itself as you're clearing through it. So as you progress through and clear out a bunch of enemies, the dungeon will literally change, and then you'll have to go back and figure out where to go next. It is both maddening, but also an insanely cool experience and thematically very appropriate. Even though I feel like saying it's reused content almost seems like it has a negative connotation, it's not. This felt awesome. It took that original Saints and Seducers story and transformed it into something much more special and notable. And perhaps most importantly, it's not a story that you're just getting by reading notes. This time around, you're actually doing things. You're experiencing this. And although there is some reused content, I think some of the most notable aspects of this mod is the custom-made content, the biggest of which is going to be the voice acting. This mod features a several hour-long questline and side quests to go along with that. But let me tell you, this is some of the highest quality voice and quest work I have ever seen from a Bethesda mod in general.
What is this? I was hoping for starter. Why are you here?
Yes. You survived Pelagius's madness, which makes you especially resilient for a mortal. Only the mad god...
It's possible, Starter. The root is the Isles, and the Isles are the mad god. That's what he said. It's madness to try, but that's what he's counting on. He's wielding the sword of Jiggalag, and he's uncovered an obelisk of order.
Well, it's a start. Thank you, valued customer. Now then, was there anything else?
Hopefully listening to that made it clear, at least on the voice acting side, but I really think this is one of those mods where you could download it for somebody's game and have them play through the entire thing, and they wouldn't even realize it's a mod. They would just think this is something that was always in Skyrim. It's that well integrated and just that well done, including what I really appreciated with those natural story connections referencing the Sheogorath quest. But in addition to the new voice acting and new quests, there also will be some new things for you. You're going to face a variety of completely custom made and new enemies. These will be added to make the asylum feel a bit more special overall, and it was definitely a nice touch. But also even some new weapons and weapon types are added here that you'll be able to get and use all throughout this. But at the end of the day, Saints and Seducers was always intended to be a big weapon pack of sorts, and this is where the mod really shines. It has all of the items from the original Saints and Seducers, but now getting them feels so much more special. And in particular with this, some of the artifacts are integrated in a far more memorable way, as some of the artifacts will now have a story component to them, so you'll have to use them during some of the quests to make them really feel special and like they are earned. And one of the pretty cool parts about this mod is it doesn't just apply to the Saints and Seducers Creation Club content if you don't want it to. If you're somebody who owns Anniversary Edition or alternatively has bought in some Creation Club stuff in the past, there are going to be a variety of optional files you can download so it'll integrate a variety of other artifacts that were released through Creation Club into this mod. So via some of the side quests or clearing through some of the dungeons, you'll be able to find some of the other artifacts from Creation Club in a far more memorable and special way. It makes the asylum overall just feel more notable and like you leave with some real goodies. Saints and Seducers in general is easily one of the coolest mods I have ever played for a Bethesda game. The concept of taking what was otherwise kind of lackluster and turning it into something that's really special and memorable just feels awesome. Again, this is what I think many of us really hoped Creation Club could have been or would have been. And now we get to experience it totally for free because obviously you don't have to pay for this. And hey, if someone wants to do something similar for fishing in Skyrim, I'd be down for that also. But at the same time, I feel like this is also a beautiful proof of concept for the broader Skyrim Extended Cut project. What they did with Saints and Seducers is in many ways their larger goal with their DLC-sized main story edition, to bring more to Skyrim's story, whether that involve reworking some parts of it, adding more content to other parts of it, or even just adding in completely new gameplay features. Right now they're targeting a release date of 2023 for Skyrim Extended Cut, and I think when that does drop, it's going to be a beautiful way to have a fresh playthrough of Skyrim. And clearly they're setting a very high quality bar for themselves, but they're also proving it because they are creating awesome things you could download right now and experience for free. If you are interested in the broader project, I'm going to have a link to their Discord as well as where you can check out the mod itself down below. With that said though, hopefully you guys found this video informative. This was definitely a blast to cover and just awesome to see the modding scene doing things like this even years later. But with that, as always, again, I thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one and I hope to see you all next time. Later.